Hey everybody, it's Minius! As most of you know, N7 Day is less than 2 weeks away, and one of the more frequent questions that I've been getting is, what am I most looking forward to in potential reveals? Well, I'm looking forward to a ton of potential things, but after some consideration, I've come to the conclusion that I am most looking forward to seeing the voice cast for Mass Effect Andromeda. I don't know how likely that is for N7 Day, but the Mass Effect trilogy was filled with powerhouse performances by a ton of talented actors that played an enormous role in the immersion of this sci-fi universe. Just think of how relatable, literal alien characters were made. I'll single out Liz or Ash Soroka, who voiced Tali, a character whose face you literally never see, and yet through the brilliance of that performance became one of the most beloved characters in the series. I've been a huge fan of animated entertainment all my life and love listening to voice performances, and as video games have gotten more complex, voicing characters has become a bigger and bigger deal in my enjoyment of video games. And Mass Effect might be the best example. With its extensive dialogue system backed by tremendous performances, it features some of my favorite characters, period. Now here's why I'm bringing this up. Voice actors have recently gone on strike. SAG-AFTRA, which is the Screen Actors Guild American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, was unable to come to a deal with 11 video game employers, including Activision, Disney, Insomniac Games, Take-Two, WB Games, and Electronic Arts, which means they won't be working on games for those companies. As you probably know, Electronic Arts publishes the Mass Effect series. So before I go any further, allow me to answer the first question that probably came into your head. How does this strike affect Mass Effect Andromeda? Well, it doesn't appear that it does. The strike covers games that went into production after February 17th, 2015. I'm not sure if that date relates to the original game production, which for Mass Effect Andromeda dates back to at least 2014, or maybe it's when voice production on the game started, which was... I don't actually know when. But even if Andromeda is covered, I don't know if story DLC is, which would seriously impact things. Imagine trying to do Lair of the Shadow Broker without the voice of FemShep, Jennifer Hale, who is very active on this subject on Twitter.
This is definitely worthy of your full attention.
And Twitter's shown something else. Negotiations have kind of gone downhill. Here's a hint of how executives feel. No one really cares about the voices. Well, that's not true at all. I'm pretty sure all of my subscribers would disagree with that statement. But how about the idea anyone can do it? Well, sure, anyone can do it, but not well. Go through the Explorers Wanted auditions online and you'll find some awesome evidence of this. I mean, mine is okay, I guess, but how much would it suck if you guys had to listen to one of those performances instead of maybe Steve Bloom?
I'm starting to see why I should care.
I'm sure it's pretty clear where I stand on this, but let's go over what we know about the labor situation. Oh, you might want to check the comments section for people who know more about this subject. The previous labor deal ended late 2014, and after 19 months of unsuccessful negotiations, the actors went on strike. As far as I understand it, there are a few issues of contention. Some are health and safety concerns. A stickler is the idea of secondary compensation, or royalties for games that sell over 2 million copies. Now, the video game companies contend that SAG-AFTRA's 150,000 members cover less than 25% of the games out there, but perhaps the real problem is that the video game industry doesn't pay its employees on this model. Scott Whitland, who is a lawyer representing the video game companies, said in an NPR article that voice actors represent less than 1/10% of the work that goes into making a video game. I don't actually know if that's true, but he continues, if we pay them under a vastly different system than the people who do 99.9% of the work, that is going to create far more problems for the video game companies. And that is probably the real issue here. Video game programmers and developers aren't unionized. They don't receive royalties for their games. They got a very tough gig and basically go from place to place working for incredibly short periods, and major companies benefit significantly from this labor situation. In the other entertainment industries, unions are all over the place. Not just with actors, but with writers, costume directors, makeup artists, hairstylists, cinematographers, pretty much every job related to creating movies and television and the like. Those who work in the video game industry almost certainly would benefit from unionizing, which is something I'm sure the major video game corporations like Activision and Electronic Arts desperately would want to squash. And any attempt to unionize developers would be met with fierce resistance and might throw one hell of a hiccup into the way video games are produced, but ultimately, that's probably a good thing. Anyway, this situation is definitely something to keep an eye on, not just for the actors in Mass Effect Andromeda, but for the entire video game industry going forward. But as far as this particular situation is concerned, I'm sure we can agree that performance matters. I'm going to assume that many of you have different opinions on unions and such. Personally, I always lean union, especially in labor situations against enormous corporations. Hopefully we can chat about this in the comments section below. And if you like this video, please give it a like. It really helps out the channel. Keep an eye on MiniusGC for more Mass Effect videos. But for now...
I should go.